There comes a moment when you suddenly notice, a connection that once seemed warm and fulfilling is beginning to pull you further and further away from your own path. Instead of supporting your growth, such a relationship becomes a silent anchor that prevents you from moving forward. The Stoics said that a person should strive for virtue, wisdom, and inner fortitude, and anything that leads away from this path requires an honest reconsideration. Sometimes this happens unnoticed. You begin to suppress your goals, put your dreams on hold, sacrificing your growth in order to preserve a connection that has long since lost its meaning. Outwardly, everything may seem calm, but inside, a growing feeling grows that you're living someone else's life, as if someone else's will has become more important than your own. Seneca noted, "A friendship that can end was never true." These words contain painful but honest wisdom. True relationships, be it friendship, family, or love, should help you grow stronger. They support you, provide support, but they don't drown out your inner voice. They don't require self-denial. When a relationship begins to hinder your development, turning forward movement into a painful resistance, that's the first sign that it's time to reflect. Don't blame or assign blame, but rather ask yourself honestly, is this person walking my path, or holding me back? The Stoic path requires courage. The courage to admit that not every relationship is meant to last a lifetime. And even greater courage, to let go of what hinders your growth. After all, by freeing yourself from obstacles, you regain the opportunity to grow, move, and unleash your potential without limits. There comes a moment when you suddenly notice, a connection that once seemed warm and fulfilling is beginning to pull you further and further away from your own path. Instead of supporting your growth, such a relationship becomes a silent anchor that prevents you from moving forward. The Stoics said that a person should strive for virtue, wisdom, and inner fortitude, and anything that leads away from this path requires an honest reconsideration. Sometimes this happens unnoticed. You begin to suppress your goals, put your dreams on hold, sacrificing your growth in order to preserve a connection that has long since lost its meaning. Outwardly, everything may seem calm, but inside, a growing feeling grows that you're living someone else's life, as if someone else's will has become more important than your own. Seneca noted, "A friendship that can end was never true." These words contain painful but honest wisdom. True relationships, be it friendship, family, or love, should help you grow stronger. They support you, provide support, but they don't drown out your inner voice. They don't require self-denial. When a relationship begins to hinder your development, turning forward movement into a painful resistance, that's the first sign that it's time to reflect. Don't blame or assign blame, but rather ask yourself honestly, is this person walking my path, or holding me back? The Stoic path requires courage. The courage to admit that not every relationship is meant to last a lifetime. And even greater courage, to let go of what hinders your growth. After all, by freeing yourself from obstacles, you regain the opportunity to grow, move, and unleash your potential without limits. Sometimes a relationship ceases to be a union of two free people and turns into a subtle but perceptible web of control. You begin to notice that your decisions are less and less your own. It's as if someone has their hands on your steering wheel, steering your life in a direction that suits them. Manipulation can be quiet, wrapped in care or even love. Control may look like, "I know better, I'm just worried," or "I want what's best for you." But the essence remains the same, your autonomy gradually disappears. Epictetus taught, "He who has power over himself is free." And if someone else has power over you, you lose not only your freedom but also your inner dignity, which the Stoics considered sacred. Manipulation manifests itself in different ways. You are forced to doubt your own thoughts and feelings. Your boundaries are ignored or ridiculed. Decisions are made for you. You are always blamed. You are isolated from others to make it easier to control. You are used under the guise of intimacy. At first, you may not notice it. But over time, an inner voice begins to whisper, "This is not you. This is not your life. These are not your choices." Instead of respect, pressure. Instead of trust, manipulation. Instead of support, there's control masquerading as care. Stoic philosophy demands an honest acknowledgement: where there is no freedom, there are no true relationships. Any relationship in which you are broken, reconfigured to suit someone else's needs, and deprived of your independence is neither love nor friendship. It is a dependency from which you must free yourself. And the very first step is to recognize this. The second is to reclaim your right to control your own life. When respect disappears, the very foundation of the relationship disappears. Everything else hangs on by a thread. Humiliation, constant criticism, ignoring, and devaluing are not a character trait, not a communication quirk, and not everyone does this. These are signs that the relationship has become destructive. When respect ceases to be two-way, the relationship turns into a field of quiet but constant internal violence. Respect is more than just politeness. It's the recognition of your value. Your voice. Your boundaries. Your humanity. When someone regularly invalidates your feelings, ridicules your aspirations, ignores things that are important to you, or makes you lesser, every such moment leaves a tiny crack. Over time, these cracks form a chasm that can no longer be bridged. Stoic wisdom emphasizes that dignity is something a person must guard as jealously as life itself. Without dignity, there is no support, no inner strength, no opportunity for growth. If a relationship is built on humiliation, it cannot lead to virtue. If criticism rules, it lacks harmony. If ignorance reigns, there is no connection. If you are devalued, there is no future. And the main question that Stoic thinking advises asking oneself is: does this relationship help me live with dignity? If the answer is no, then leaving is not a betrayal. Leaving is reclaiming what is most precious to oneself, self-respect and one's inner integrity. The most subtle, yet most dangerous, rift in a relationship begins not with loud arguments, but with quiet concessions. At first, it seems harmless, breaking a habit, keeping silent about one's beliefs, adapting for the sake of peace. But one such concession leads to another, and before you know it, you're no longer living your own life. When someone forces you to give up what constitutes your inner code, honesty, freedom, self-respect, life goals, it's not a compromise. It's a gradual erosion of your personality. You stop saying what you think. You stop doing what you love. You stop being who you are. And one day you catch yourself thinking, if I betray one more value, what will remain of me? Healthy relationships don't require bending yourself to meet someone else's expectations. On the contrary, with the right person, your values become even stronger. A partner who loves you doesn't drag you down. They give you space to grow. In healthy relationships, there's an exchange: emotions, attention, care, effort, everything is distributed roughly equally. But there are relationships where the balance is off. One person invests everything: time, energy, feelings, care. The other only receives. And the more the giver tries, the more it seems like it doesn't affect the other. This imbalance imperceptibly turns relationships into emotional toil. You begin to live in a constant state of, I should, I'll do it, I'll support, and your partner takes it for granted. Gradually, fatigue, irritation, resentment set in, and most importantly, a feeling that your efforts are not appreciated. Relationships shouldn't be a one-way street. If you're the only one giving, they cease to be a partnership. You begin to lose yourself in this unequal game, losing joy, freedom, and a sense of self-worth. Stoic wisdom reminds us, a true connection is built on reciprocity and respect, and if this isn't there, you need to consider whether it's worth continuing the journey together or regaining your balance and inner freedom. Violence doesn't always strike with a fist. Sometimes it whispers, pressures, manipulates, and humiliates. It can be physical, emotional, verbal, psychological, or financial, and any form leaves a deep mark. Even small acts of cruelty, sarcasm, threats, control, mockery, deprivation of resources, slowly erode your inner peace. You begin to doubt yourself, your worth, your ability to make decisions. Fear sets in, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of expressing emotion, fear of being yourself. The Stoics believe that a person must guard their dignity like a sacred inner temple. If someone systematically destroys your dignity, that's not love or care. It's control, manipulation, and violence. And no amount of love or care justification makes this acceptable. The first step is to see the truth. Acknowledge that violence exists. The second step is to act, protect yourself, seek help, distance yourself. Never think that patience will make a situation better. Stoic wisdom teaches, your life and dignity are more valuable than any relationship. Renouncing violence is not weakness, it is an act of courage and self-respect that brings back control over your life and inner peace. The bond between people is built on communication. But when dialogue devolves into misunderstandings, constant quarrels, accusations, or complete silence, relationships begin to crumble from within. Every conversation leaves behind fatigue, irritation, or resentment, and problem-solving seems unattainable. The Stoics believe that reason and words are the tools of harmony. When communication is toxic, it blocks growth, understanding, and trust. Constantly avoiding problems, ignoring important topics, and failing to listen to each other transform relationships into emotional labyrinths difficult to navigate. Effective communication isn't just about speaking. It's about listening, understanding, expressing your thoughts honestly and calmly, and seeking solutions together. Without it, even the strongest feelings lose their power, and relationships become a source of stress and inner tension. Stoic wisdom reminds us, a culture of communication and clear dialogue are the foundation of harmony. If they are lacking, it's a signal that it's time to reconsider the relationship dynamics, and sometimes even take a step back for the sake of your peace of mind and personal growth. In Stoic philosophy, inner peace is one of the most fundamental values. It allows us to think clearly, act rationally, and maintain harmony with ourselves and the world. But sometimes relationships become a source of constant anxiety, stress, and emotional instability. You begin to notice that thoughts about a person cause anxiety, the anticipation of communication weighs you down, and meetings bring tension instead of joy. Constant conflicts, unresolved grievances, emotional swings, all this destroys your sense of security and inner stability. The Stoics teach that external circumstances are not always under our control, but control over our inner state is our responsibility. If a relationship systematically disrupts your harmony, it is a sign that it is toxic. Letting go of such a relationship is not an act of selfishness, but a wise and courageous step toward maintaining mental and emotional health. Inner peace is the foundation on which a happy and fulfilling life is built. Protecting it means protecting yourself. And sometimes the most difficult, but necessary choice is to part with what is destroying you in order to regain your freedom and clarity of mind.